It's funny. Me and Chris have had that conversation a couple times. I called him lazy one day, and he took it all offended, and I was like, well, that's not a slight. Like, I look for the one that wants the most efficient path from A to B, and usually it's because we call it lazy. It's not really lazy, but they want the most efficient route to get there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been cleared for takeoff. You are now flying high with Travis Lamance.
Yeah, I like that. What's the question successful people ask that unsuccessful people never do? And when you asked him that question, I was like, oh, you already have like a library of those. Like you had some in the back of your mind already. And I'm just a curious person by nature. What are some of those that you were already aware of in addition to what Omar shared?
Well, to me, where that question generates is it's one of the tools I use when I'm hiring people and looking at bringing people onto my team. Are they mentally in the position where they're trying to figure out how they can do something, or are they in the mental position to figure out how they can't do something? And everybody's in one or the other most of the time. Like, we can all move a little, but generally you're either a can do or a can't do. And so any question that like puts you in that polar situation is what's going to decide that. And so you put somebody in a scenario, ask, how do you build a rocket ship to go to the moon? Well, you're going to say, well, I can't build a rocket ship. If that's your first instinct is I can't build a rocket ship, well, you're a can't do.
My first instinct is nobody's done that yet.
Here we go down that rabbit hole.
We better not.
But yeah, like if someone asks me, well, if I told you to go build a rocket ship, I'm not going to say, well, I can't build a rocket ship. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go camp out at Elon's house and ask Elon how the hell to build a rocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go do some research. I'm going to find out what engineers I need to hire. I'm going to find this. I'm going to find that. So I think anything that puts someone in a situation where they don't know the answer, how do they respond to it? Yeah. And that's the differentiator between people that are going to win and people that are going to lose. Because it's not an IQ thing. It's not a college training thing. It is. Are you a figure it out guy or a figure out how not to do it guy? And I think it's a really important place on where people are wired is how do I solve a problem? And that's one thing I really like dealing with technicians on in the mechanic world is watching how they're going to be as a troubleshooter based on how they respond to things. And this is getting way off in a niche little topic, but getting with mechanics, a lot of times they come across as like gruff, grumpy, kind of belligerent people, like, there's kind of that gruff thing. But then you ask them a question that's really freaking hard on like a technical thing on an airplane, they're going to grumble and grunt, but they're going to go figure out an answer and they're going to come back, oh yeah, I figured that out. And they're like, they find their sense of pride in being able to solve that problem. And the ones that come out of that situation and they're like, oh, shit, I don't know, and they don't go figure it out, it's very telling on how good or bad of a mechanic they're going to be in the long run.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you do when you need to hire someone in a refining type role? Because that's kind of a weird spot, right? Because you need to have somebody that does have a natural bent towards identifying the issues, but only for the purpose of making something bulletproof. So how do you kind of gauge this is just a negative Nancy versus this is someone who is a refiner, but they still have the positive bent that I'm looking for?
I don't know that you can clearly identify that person in a interview setting, like an initial get to know them. It's one of those things that takes time. We don't really like have it formally structured in our company, but the way I operate is we have a visionary, a builder, and an integrator. And so the visionary is the role I try to fill. Like, okay, what can we do? How can we make this big thing? How, living in daydream a little bit sometimes of what can it be? What could it be? And then coming up with the concept of, okay, let's do this thing. And then, so you cook it, whenever I get something like that going, I cook it along to 50, 60, 70% done with a good concept, kind of a storyboard, if you will, of this is the thing we need to do to get to this thing. but my skill set is not getting it to a fully implemented product. That's not, I can if I have to, but that's not my skill set, not my passion.
I saw the life drain from your face as you said
yeah. Oh, dude, I don't want to do it. I want to get it this far along, and then I want to pass the football to a team member.
Yeah.
So then the builder is the person you're talking about as the refiner. They take the concept, the idea, they have enough visionary skills that they see what we're trying to accomplish, they see what we're trying to get to, but they have enough analytical skills that they know the challenges the next person's going to find down the road. So they challenge my vision of, well, why this, why that? And then they look at it and they say, well, this is going to be a problem, that's going to be a problem. And it is a very niche kind of thing right in the middle where you can be excited and visionary about what it's going to be when it's done and discerning enough to say, well, this is going to be a problem or that's going to have a side effect that we don't want. Because after it goes from that person down to the integrator, it should be built like very few problems. They're just the one that is good at doing it day in and day out. This is the system, this is the process, this is the rules, this is how we follow it. They don't really get into, well, they might ask a little bit of why, but way less why and more how. This is how we do it. This is today we do this, tomorrow we do this, and they're good at just doing it day and day and day and day. So that's a unique thing that we've developed with Chris is that we picked up on after he came to work for us is he does have that balance of visionary and discernment of problems in it. And so that's why it works well for that dynamic of this big crazy idea. Here's like a little bit of a construct around it. Here, go finish it. And then he goes down his crazy deep rabbit holes of analyzing things to death. But then he can pop out of that and be like, oh yeah, let's go chase. So it is a unique position that I don't think you can identify in a single conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I lean towards if they start that conversation in a negative mindset, I'm probably not going to waste much of my time trying to get them out of that.
Yeah. You just tune out.
Yes, I do. I don't listen to negativity.
Yeah. Man, I agree. Have you always operated that way where you were able to see the big picture and be a refiner, make things bulletproof, and I guess kind of lean into each of those sides of your design naturally? Or
Yeah, I think so. Of course, there's always training and, the more you mature and develop, change your thought process a little bit. But for the most part, yes.
So there was quite a bit of conversation around not the how, but the who.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that there was a point in your life where it was, I have to do everything. But you didn't really share the journey of how you identified that was an issue and how you were able to create change to shift out of that. What did that look like for you?
I would say it's an ongoing journey. I wouldn't say I'm cured. The way I like to operate, I like to know how things work. So if I'm going to be doing this thing, I don't want to just automatically assume that someone else is going to do it. From the early beginning of my career, if I needed something, I didn't have money to go buy this or go buy a who or buy, I had to figure out how the hell to do it. And so it started off with a lot of self-teaching, a lot of Googling, a lot of reading. I'm going to figure out how to do this. Just like building the rocket ship. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And years of doing that, it put my brain in that space. So if I want something done, I've got to go figure it out. I've got to do it. And then pretty quickly figured out that was a huge constraint on the business being able to grow. Found that book, Who Not How. I don't remember how I came across that one, but that one gets so detailed on, makes it really clear on what the upsides and downsides are of doing it yourself versus finding who can do the problem or who can solve the problem for you. And so now, instead of my knee-jerk reaction to a problem being, how do I figure out how to do this? My knee-jerk is, who do I need to figure out to do this? That doesn't mean that I don't waste some time going down the how road just because I like knowing stuff. I'm just a curious person, but I don't let it become a constraint to our growth. So if we need to go do something new, different, that I don't have the technical skill set or ability to do, at one point in time, my first reaction would be start Googling how to build it or how to do this. I don't do that anymore. Now I'm like, who's the expert on this? Who knows how to do this? And so I start with who, not how, and then get the ball rolling, make sure it's not a constraint to our growth process that we're in. And then I may come back to it in my own time and figure out more about how, just out of curiosity, but it definitely leads with who now.
Yeah. And you bring out a great point where there are certain things that might serve you well in a certain position But then you find yourself in a different position later on. And if you're not intentional to take inventory, then you'll find yourself still operating with practices from the last position that are actually hamstringing you where you are right now. How difficult has it been for you from all of the different places where you found yourself in different ventures? How difficult has it been to be able to shift things that needed to be shifted in mindset and practice as you've found yourself in these different positions?
I think the reason that it helps, or that I'm able to move from one thing to another pretty quickly, for one, goes back to the decision velocity thing. I'm not going to stay stuck in a decision for a long time, but I also abhor mediocrity. Yeah. I don't like medium anything. I like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best freaking one at it, or my company is going to be the best at it. Like, I don't like mediocrity. And a lot of these things, I'm not going to be the best one at it, but somebody is. And if I want the outcome to be the premium, high-end, best thing, then I need to ego check myself that I'm not always going to be the best person for that candidate. So I think where a lot of people get hung up in it is an ego issue, like, well, if I can't do it, no one can do it, and that kind of thing. I'm in it for the results. I want the results to be the best outcome of this thing that we're dealing with. And if I'm not the one that can be the personal one doing the thing to make the best result, then my job is to identify who is the best one to make that result. And I think it's just being able to reflect on that with some clarity of, is this an ego-driven decision or is this a true results-driven decision? I know early on it was, looking back, I didn't know it at the moment, but looking back on it now, there's a lot of decisions that were made that were ego-driven, and it hurt the progress of the company or the project or whatever the thing was, just because you get into your own ego on it, and just got to let your ego go to the side and get the result.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Haven ASG. Looking to buy your first private aircraft or upgrade your current bird? Travis and the team at Haven Aviation Services Group has you covered. From finding the jet of your dreams to selling your old model, our expert brokerage teams handle every detail, connecting you to the right deal for the right aircraft every time. Visit havenasg.com/Flyin High today for your custom experience to begin. Again, that's havenasg.com/Flyin High, or just click the link in the show notes. Now back to the show.
So, Chris, I know one of your responsibilities here at Haven is recalibrating systems and building structures. So when you are tasked with oversight over a portion of the company, how do you kind of evaluate the who that is available to you within a team and make sure that you're able to position them in the right places?
I think a big, part of the identification is who's part of it and who's disgruntled with it. If you have someone that's disgruntled with the system or process, they're going to be a lot more eager to help you fix that process.
That's a good point, yeah.
You're getting more buy-in from them. If you get someone that's not very, they're just kind of going with the flow and whatever, it is what it is kind of attitude, you're not going to get much insight from them or much buy-in. They're not going to help you get that problem solved near as fast or efficient as the person that's been doing it for the last 6 months. It's just tired of it,
Yeah.
Grab the one that complains about it every day and use them to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're gonna help you get it straightened up, and they're gonna look at it from their eyes. What would make it easier for them? What would make them happy with it? And you can take pieces of that and puzzle it together and have a good outcome most of the time.
Nice. I met a guy one time who was an efficiency expert, and companies would bring him in just to tune up, processes and stuff. And he told me that one of the things he would do is he would ask the overseer of whatever department it was, who's the laziest person? And then he would go watch that person because they've already figured out the shortcut.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. Me and Chris have had that conversation a couple times. I called him lazy one day and he took it all offended. And I was like, well, that's not a slight. Like, I look for the one that wants the most efficient path from A to B, and usually it's because we call it lazy. It's not really lazy, but they want the most efficient route to get there and not have to go through step A, B, C, D. They just want they want desired result, like the fastest way to get there.
Yeah.
And we rib him a little bit about it being out of laziness, and it's so true, though. They're the ones that find as long as their product outcome is good, a true lazy person, their product outcome is shit. Mm-hmm. But if they have a good product outcome and they have the fastest way to get there, it's usually because they don't tolerate all that stuff in the middle. They want A to B.
Fluff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me take a moment just to soak in the fact that you called him lazy, and they were like, "Why would you take that negatively?"
Yeah.
You have to fill us in on. You've had some extra processing or conversations surrounding what you mean by a thing.
Well, I don't remember how it went that way, but I just know I called him lazy, and at first he didn't say nothing, and he came to my office a little while later, and he's like, "You called me lazy?"
Not lazy.
He was highly offended.
Sorry, I'm being efficient.
Stewing in your office there for a while.
Yeah. Sorry, I skipped some steps, but it's the same outcome.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't remember the context of how that went down to you.
I know what you're saying, though. You know, you get someone that's just a hard worker, that, you know, the 8 to 5, you know, and they don't look at it any other way. And so they will never really see that shortcut or that way to make it more efficient. They don't look at it in those eyes, you know.
Yeah.
So.
You got to look for that self-starter and the, you know, someone that naturally carries that upgrade mentality. How can this be better, you know? Oh,
I remember the context of what
was it?
You asked me one day. I don't remember why you asked me this question, but it was when we first put you in this new role, and you were trying to figure out what you're supposed to do and how and all that stuff. And you said, "Well, why'd you pick me for this role?" And I said, "'Cause you're fucking lazy."
How could you take that negatively?
Yeah, I know. Whatever. All right.
Hilarious.
Yeah. It's all cool.
Why did you pick me for this role, Travis?
Because you're fucking intelligent.
I'm offended. Oh my goodness. There was a super curious part in the conversation when you guys started talking about stacking anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true that there are certain just kind of strange things that happen. Who is it that said, what is that saying? Something about where luck meets preparation, or luck is where preparation meets opportunity?
I know the expression you're trying to come up with, but I don't have it either.
Well, great.
If only we had a device in our pocket that told us all things.
Right.
I'm still going over the lazy stuff.
All bitter again.
Over here got the scenario played in my head. Someone that's lazy would get the skid steer to move the dirt. Someone that's a hard worker would do it by shovel, but the skid steer is a lot faster.
Work smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
The perplexity says that it is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Nailed it.
It's attributed to Seneca. Going deep in the philosopher realm.
That's true. Yeah. Not to be confused with his brother Cynical. You would have hated him. We're keeping that in. All right. One of the fascinating parts in that conversation was when you guys started talking about anomalies and then stacked anomalies. And I love that quote by Seneca.
Hey, you had that right on top of your mind, man.
I did. And I love that quote of luck is where opportunity meets preparation. And so when he was talking about a few moments in your life that just 10x everything, are there a couple of those that you can look back and identify in your own story?
Yeah, there's a few of them that happen, but you know, some of them are about being proactive and things you go and do to kind of force things to happen and kind of stack the cards in your deck because of the things that you did, and then you went and took a proactive action. Other times it's just you've been doing like these small things over time and get you in a position where all of a sudden one little opportunity shows itself and you capitalize on it. One of them is, you know, the business partner that I have in a lot of this stuff. He doesn't like a lot of recognition. He's a pretty low-key guy and doesn't like being talked about. That's why I don't bring him up much in this, but he's a critical piece of everything that we've done, and we don't throw a lot of credit his way because he doesn't want it. He doesn't like to be in the recognition, but there's certain things that happened leading up to the development of the company that we're working now, that it was things that I had done, reputation I had built, a lot of things that led up to that moment whenever he and I encountered each other that flipped a switch that allowed us to accelerate the success that we're seeing in Haven. And none of that would be there without some things that he did in the background, but he wouldn't have done the things he did had we not done all these other little steps leading up to that. So it was exactly preparation meets an opportunity. So if I hadn't been prepared by doing all these other things, he was presented as an opportunity that we were able to work together. That is exactly what happened. But it's just one of those things we don't get into real deep, but it's a perfect example of it.
Yeah. Have you got some of those?
You were talking about 10Xing, like where you just felt like you got that excel. I would say definitely where I felt like, I really excelled in my career is taking on that GM position. I really didn't want to do it, but, you look back now and you go, man, like that just built me up so much more, and I learned so much from it. And now I'm able to do this because of that,
Yeah.
So I definitely am very appreciative of that opportunity and everything now,
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I remember, so the way I got started working in global government for several years was ended up meeting a guy who took a liking to me, became a mentor to me in that arena. But he just called me out of the blue one day and was like, hey, I'm meeting with the first family of this nation in Africa, and I'm going to take you with me. So grab your passport and your suits, and we're going to go. And what he didn't know was I didn't own any suits. But if I hadn't made that decision and taken advantage of that opportunity, then I would have missed out, on 8 years of working in global government and my experiences in the UN and really seeing the world, which radically changed my worldview and my life. But it's that taking advantage of those opportunities that come your way, even if it comes with some sacrifice. But yeah, those moments can change everything.
And you got to be ready to jump on them when they come, not let fear and uncertainty talk you out of it.
Right.
You got to be ahead of that, and that opportunity presents itself, and you got to latch onto it and ride it.
That's true. It's a wild ride, but it's a good one. Anything else that stood out to you in that episode?
Just overall, man, he just got a cool story of how he went straight from his first podcast into owning a production company, and how he was creative enough to partner with that guy on that. And he's scrappy like I am, he knows what he wants, and he's going to figure out a way to get there. And I just really appreciate his attitude and outlook on it, because it resonates a lot with me and how I look at things. It's never a no. It's maybe not right now, but it's never a no. And he just went into the whole thing with that mindset of I'm going to figure out how to do it. And it's just broke open so many doors for him and highlighted a true talent he had. He's an amazing interviewer, and his ability to extract a story out of somebody is just really good. And so just his overall mentality and approach on life was refreshing. It was cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. One of my favorite episodes so far. So yeah, make sure you check out the Passionate Few podcast, and I know your episode is going to be dropping with him in a week now.
Yeah,
shortly. Don't call me shortly.
Lame dad jokes to close out the set.
If only I knew who edited these. Yeah, you want to close this out?
No.
It just shuts off.
That's how they normally go.
True.
We're supposed to have an outro? All right. Thanks for hooking up with us on another episode of the Flight Deck from the Flyin High podcast. Go check out the episode with Omar Elattar. Phenomenal guest. Dropped so many nuggets of wisdom through that whole thing. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Throw in the comments if there's anything more that you want to know about, topic you want us to cover, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been cleared for takeoff. You are now flying high with Travis Lamance.